I'm Russell Jaffe for Course Hero, and here are 10 things you probably didn't know about 1984. Ready to make like Big Brother and watch? Let's go!
George Orwell studied at Eton, a prestigious boys' boarding school in England. One year, he studied French under Aldous Huxley, a substitute teacher who would go on to write Brave New World. Later, their two dystopian novels would be subject to constant comparison.
A movie version of 1984 starring John Hurt was filmed in 1984. Some scenes, including the one in which Winston writes in his diary on April 4th, were actually shot on exactly the same day as the one in the novel. Desperately sick with tuberculosis and living on a remote Scottish island with no electricity, Orwell raced against time to finish writing 1984. In a letter, Orwell wrote, "Like a fool, I decided not to go to a doctor. I wanted to get on with the book I was writing." Orwell died 7 months after the book was published. In 1984, Big Brother is the all-seeing, all-knowing leader of Oceania. The citizens are constantly reminded that Big Brother's watching you. This concept inspired Big Brother, a hit reality TV show in which a group of strangers live together, their actions and words constantly broadcast to millions of viewers.
This is a pretty good show.
"1984 was originally going to be called The Last Man in Europe. This title was intended to suggest that the protagonist was the only person left who still had the ability to think for himself, but his publisher urged him to choose a more commercial title. In 1961, an English teacher named Richard Wyman was fired from a high school in Renshaw, Minnesota, when he refused to take 1984 off his class's reading list. Eventually, he and the school board came to an agreement. The Star Tribune wrote, "1984 will remain on the English reading list, but for college preparatory students on a voluntary basis, and Mr. Wyman has agreed that it will not be required of all students." Wyman got his job back. The thought police in 1984 were likely inspired by the Toko, a government division of secret police. Because the Toko's mission was to suppress so-called dangerous thoughts, this organization was sometimes called the Thought Police. 1984 bears a striking similarity to the 1920s Russian novel We by Yevgeny Zamyatin. According to one critic, Orwell borrowed much of his plot, central characters, and the dramatic arc from the earlier work. Nonetheless, Orwell is considered to be the superior writer of the two, and his work has had a much greater cultural impact. 1984's idea of a surveillance state has often been evoked to bring attention to concerns about privacy in the modern age. In 2013, it was revealed that the NSA had been secretly recording and monitoring people's internet and phone usage. Soon afterward, sales of 1984 reportedly rose by as much as 5,000%. The slogan 2 + 2 = 5, used by Orwell as an example of an obviously false fact, was actually a Communist Party slogan. The party was confident that their first 5-year plan could be achieved in 4 years. The equation appeared on signs across the country, and the plan was implemented between 1928 and 1932.